It's a sparring day, you show up, you're pumped to throw down, super excited to have some fun, but these people in the gym keep doing these dumb, stupid things which are so frustrating. Today we are talking about my sparring pet peeves. Number one, so you guys can vent along with me in the comments below, but number two, so if you are making any of these mistakes, you'll stop doing them, and people at the gym will be much more excited to spar against you. The waitlist for my defense course is now open. Make sure you get registered so that when we get to the point where we're actually launching, you get the email notification. There's going to be a certain amount of time because there's going to be a live component and pre-recorded. You don't want to miss this one. It's going to be great. So pet peeves. We are talking about sparring, and this is very often one of the favorite times for martial artists to go into the gym. Sparring days are very fun, as long as you have sparring partners who are doing things right. And you might be going, well, you know, is there a certain way to do things wrong? I mean, sparring is just people doing what they feel best with. But yes, at the end of the day, there are things that you can do wrong. And we're going to talk about 5 pet peeves that I have in sparring. There are many more. And again, you can sound off in the comments and let me know what really bugs you. But let's start off with my first pet peeve, number 1. And that is people who are constantly running. All they do through the round is they just move, they move. Occasionally they'll throw something. But for the most part, you just feel like you're just trying to chase them down. Why do they do this? Why can they get away with this? Because you're not sparring in a ring. If you're sparring in a ring, this is actually great training because you can work on cornering an opponent who likes to run a lot and really lock them into that spot where you can stop them from escaping. But otherwise, if we're on an open mat, which we often are when we spar, there's no real end to the person just running away, stepping off the mats, going behind bags. I've seen it all. Just people running and running and running. Why are you even here if you're just going to spend the whole time backpedaling and not engaging? It frustrates me so much. Fortunately, it doesn't happen too much anymore because I don't spar with a whole lot of people. I have my group, I spar with them, everything's good. We stand there, we engage as we should, but I'm sure all of you can relate. Don't spend the whole time backpedaling if you didn't already know this. It's so frustrating when somebody's trying to engage and you're just moving around the whole time. Yeah, what else can I say about that one? My second pet peeve is when I see people with a height, like a massive height or a big size advantage over somebody else, and they're using that instead of going, oh, okay, you know what? I have an extra 7 inches on this person who's a little shorter than me, and I'm gonna make the adjustment. I'm gonna get down here. Or look at, I'm a big dude fighting a girl who has, weighs like 80 pounds less than me, and I'm not gonna worry about controlling my shots. I'm still gonna throw like normal. Be aware of size advantages, whether it be height or weight, and adjust accordingly so you don't hurt the person, but so they also can get relatively realistic rounds. Keep in mind, this small person is never gonna be fighting somebody in a ring who's way up here. And I get the smaller fighters all the time saying, Gabriel, what can I do if I'm the shorter fighter? And I say, well, what's your weight? And they're like, oh, 135. I'm like, you can't do anything. If you're 135 and 5'6" and you're going up against 200-pound guys, there is nothing that you're going to be able to do, which is going to change up your fight game and make you beat everybody at the gym. Those 200-pound guys should be making the adjustment, not you. Bigger people make the adjustment. Next thing which I hate is when I'm in the middle of sparring, somebody's throwing a bunch of shots at me, I find that little opening, I clip them in the jaw, but I pull it, but then they hit me after. Or, I'm moving backwards and I throw a head kick, I land the shin right up to the head, and then they push me over. Basically, not acknowledging what would be a KO shot. If you get clipped square in the jaw, but the person just goes boop, or you get kicked in the head and you just feel boop, you know that they were doing you a favor. If they hit you hard and you roll with it and then you come back, that's fine. But when people are actively pulling their shots so you don't get hurt and then you hit them or throw them after, that's just a ridiculous move. Can't stand it, happens so often, see it all the time at all the different gyms I've been at, see it in other YouTube videos. It's gotta stop. Acknowledge KO shots. The next thing which really frustrates me when I'm sparring somebody is when they can't throw basics. They can't throw a jab, they can't throw a round kick, but for some reason they can throw spinning back fists, spinning side kicks, and all these crazy techniques. Why does that upset me so much? Well, number one, because they're throwing the fancy things, they can't seem to control themselves much. So I'm always in danger of getting hurt. But number two, they can't engage very well either because they're only throwing single shots. If you're somebody who's very comfortable with spinning kicks, spinning back fists, this probably means that for the most part, you've done a lot of training on bags. You've done a lot of training solo. And then you get in front of somebody and you haven't practiced the basics enough because they're not as cool, I suppose, and you just sort of freeze up and go back to the spinning techniques. But it's very frustrating to compete against, and keep in mind, the spinning techniques work until somebody gets on the inside, and then you're done. They're gonna eat you up. They're gonna destroy you with those basic shots, chop down the legs. So open up your arsenal. If you only like fancy techniques and you still haven't figured out, okay, this is the jab, uppercut, all those basic things, those should be the priority, and the fancy, sillier things are just like the icing on the cake. The last pet peeve, which I have written down for today, is sparring people who have non-consistent power. That does not mean Lomachenko style, where we step in and we know we're trying to hurt each other, we know we're going full power, and the person decides, oh, I'm gonna do a couple pitter-patter shots before my hard shot. No, the ones that bug me is when you step in, you touch gloves, you're going light, they're going light, and then all of a sudden they just bomb a big punch on you. You get hit off the guard, you're kind of like, whoa. And then you come in, you give them a hard shot, and they're like, no, whoa, whoa, let's go light. And then you go back to going light, and then again, 30 seconds later, out of nowhere, big power shot. You're like, what are we doing? Are we going light? Are we going hard? This is why we preset, or at least I do, preset with somebody verbally how hard we're sparring today. I'll give them a couple chances. If they hit me a little hard, I'll be like, oh, you want to go harder? They're like, no. Oh, okay, okay. Wait a little bit longer. If they hit me again, really hard, you want to go harder? Or, that was pretty rough. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Third time, I'm like, yeah, okay, we're done. Now it's hard sparring. And that's just the way it is. And maybe that's a bit of my ego kicking in, but I do not like inconsistent sparring. Be consistent with your pace, unless it's full power, like I said, and you want to go lighter, that's fine. Because as you tap, 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 you know at any point this guy might try and hit you hard. And you can hit at any time hard as well. Non-consistent power is a big issue. Those are 5 of my pet peeves, 5 things that bother me so much in sparring. And fortunately, as I said, I have only a few people that I spar with nowadays consistently, and none of them do that. But I'm sure you guys can relate. I'm sure you have your own pet peeves. There are so many other things. Something like, oh, my shin pad came undone, and people reach down and like adjust it without calling for a pause. Just when you're in the middle of the kick. There's so many things that happen out there. But overall, those are my 5 big ones. So if you're making any of those mistakes I'm gonna call them, try and adjust so people like sparring with you more at the gym. Let's call it there, everybody. As always, train hard, and I will see you back here soon for another video.